Hey guys, Dylan from Noble Records coming at you with another video. This video I thought it'd be cool to do one, just the most wanted records by collectors. The way I determined this list was through Discogs. It has a tab that is, it says most wanted. And so that's what record collectors are the most commonly wanted. So the top 20 are common records that you've probably heard or at least heard of. And it also takes into account, it's not certain pressings, it's all pressings. So whether it's a cassette tape or a CD or an 8-track or a vinyl record, it takes in all formats and all pressings. So there might be a specialty pressing that you're looking for or whatever, and some of them are even on my want list as well that I wanted to see, unique pressings of certain things. But these are records that a lot of you certainly probably have in your collections, but I'm going to share some facts about some of them, and then also going to show you some interesting pressings that I have of these records, if you care. So number 20 goes to, as you all know, this Michael Jackson Thriller, 1982. This is 66 million copies sold worldwide, one of the most common records, but also one of the best-selling records of all time. And a lot of times when there's a best-selling record that's really, really common, they depreciate in value, and a lot of them are dollar bin records. This is one that no matter how many copies that I get in the shop, they all end up selling. People are always looking for Michael Jackson Thriller. A lot of people come in. I've had people come in the shops and say, I've got this copy of Michael Jackson Thriller, and I think it's worth about $20,000, and they're not, because there was, 66 million copies sold worldwide. But it is one of the best-selling albums of all time. It's claimed that it broke racial barriers, that no matter, at that time, every type of person liked the album, every demographic, all that stuff. So it was a very, very solid album, lots of hits on the album. So this is one that we all know and love, Michael Jackson Thriller at number 20. Number 19, this one surprised me, that this one even beat out Thriller. This one surprised me that it was on the list at all. It blew my mind. And that is Velvet Underground and Nico. This is definitely an album that I've seen the past few years jump up in value and also in desirability. People are really wanting this album as of late. When I first started collecting and really getting into records, this was one you could come across every now and then, and it wasn't that expensive. It's always been a collector record that a lot of collectors are looking for, but this is a fantastic album if you haven't heard it. Velvet Underground and Nico, 1967. This clocks in at number 19. This is a very influential record. It was a weird record. This is not a very mainstream thing, but everyone who really bought this record and really appreciated it, there's something about the artwork. It was done by Andy Warhol, interactive artwork. You could peel the banana or not peel the banana, whatever you wanted to do. And also the music within is a very interesting, I think a fundamental type of music. It's very inspiring. It's very different. It's outside of what was normal at the time. Very influential record. So number 19, this definitely deserves to be on the list. This is the one on the list that you might not have heard of. The most uncommon of the ones on the list. But you can get reissues. The originals will cost you anywhere between $100 and $5,000 depending on the pressing and how intact the banana is. So that is Velvet Underground and Nico, 1967. The next one, number 18, is also from 1967. This is the Doors, self-titled. This is a record that I think was ahead of its time. Jim Morrison was a visionary. He was a poet, but also had a really solid band. Everybody in the band was really tight, really solid. And this was one of the most influential records, in my opinion, in rock history because it made psychedelic music mainstream. That one and Sgt. Pepper's made psychedelic music mainstream. 1967 was a very crucial year for psychedelic music and also just rock in general. The public really sunk their teeth into and absolutely loved it. Jim Morrison was a rule breaker. He was a trailblazer, and this album is definitely one of those albums that was influential to a lot of bands all over the world. So this is a great record. It is among my favorites, just outstanding record. The Doors, self-titled, 1967. Number 17 is the Beatles, Rubber Soul. This is a fantastic record. The Beatles, you will see a lot of the Beatles on this list. So I'm going to show you, I told you I was going to show you some interesting pressings of Beatles stuff that I have. Rubber Soul is definitely when the Beatles started to turn a little bit different. You know, they started doing their own thing and really kind of breaking away from that Beatlemania type of, you know, early rock and roll music, and they started really forming something different. As I sold a lot of my Beatles records to get this. This is a box set. And I don't know that I've ever showed this on my channel, but this is the Beatles, the collection. This is the original master recording. It is so massive. It's got a latch right here. Let's see if I can. And then it opens up like this, and then you've got all the original master recordings in there, and they come in their own sleeves. And so that shows the tape on it. I'll show you. So it's kind of hard to show, but that is my Beatles collection, and I do try to stick to a one record per album rule. I do not always stay to that, and you'll see as I get into my video that some of my Zeppelin and stuff, I have multiple copies, and I'm going to show you those. But that's for my Beatles stuff. So a lot of my Beatles records, I do have multiple copies, but some I had to pull from the shop because I don't keep copies of each record. Like if I'm going to go to listen to a Beatles album, I'm going to that box set because it sounds absolutely fantastic. It's original master recording, Mobile Fidelity Sound Lab released box set. Is crucial. It's amazing, and I'm glad I could have that in my collection. So because of that, I don't have a ton of Beatles records, but I do have some, and I've got enough to show. That is number 17, Rubber Soul, 1966. Number 16 is Miles Davis Kinda Blue, 1959. Now, this is one of those, probably the most well-known hard bop jazz record. This is the original stereo pressing on the Columbia 6i. This is this is the one a lot of people look for, that first pressing on 6i label. But this is an amazing record. Just the lineup on this record, Cannonball Adderley, you know, John Coltrane, Bill Evans. Amazing lineup of jazz musicians. If you're wanting to get into jazz, this is the one to get into. This is the one that's going to have all the players that you need to know. Not all the players, but a lot of the players on it that you need to know. It's just a crucial composition, great musicians. If you want to get into it, this is how you get into it. And a little tip, if you're getting into jazz, kind of pick albums that have those main players on them, and then listen out for their instruments and see which ones you like, and then start picking some that have some players you don't know. And that's how you kind of expand your taste in jazz. But this is one, if you had to pick one to start off with, Kinda Blue is definitely that one to start off with. Number 15 is The Rise and Fall of Ziggy Stardust and the Spiders from Mars. This is just an amazing record. You know, David Bowie, he had these different chapters in his career, and this one was Ziggy Stardust as his persona is amazing. This has got some great hits on it. The whole album is one that, you know, you go through and you don't want to skip a single track. This is an absolutely fantastic record. If I had to pick one David Bowie record, it would be this one. Incredible Stuff, 1972. Just another very influential record, and this one more along the lines of, like, it really influenced all types of music, but definitely punk rock would be a lot different. New wave would be a lot different if there was no David Bowie. So, and this is one album that really influenced a lot of those dudes, and all genres really. Incredible record, and this is the original master recording. Fantastic sounding copy. This is the only copy I have because I would probably never listen to a different copy of that. This is a fantastic record. Number 14 is Fleetwood Mac Rumours. I kind of thought this one would be a little bit higher on the list. You know, as I've mentioned before, I do own a record shop, and this is one that I get requests for almost daily. And it's a very common record. I get a ton of them in, but as soon as I get them in and price them and put them out, they're gone that day. It's just one that everyone wants. This is the Nautilus Super Disc pressing of it. But this is just one of those albums that have a ton of good hits on it, ton of good songs. Everybody seems to love this album, and it's just a favorite. It's iconic. It's just one of those super iconic records. So not much to say about this that hasn't been already said, but that is number 14, Fleetwood Mac Rumours. Number 13 is the Beatles' White Album, 1968. This is my favorite Beatles record. I just love the composition of it. I love, has my favorite Beatles song on it, which is Helter Skelter. Incredible song. This is a numbered U.S. first press. I really am on the lookout. On my want list is a first UK mono. That would be like a super grail for me to get that. But this is just an incredible record. So many great songs on it, and it's just a very, I think it was a really cool record for them to do at the time. It was very brave. It was very different than a lot of stuff that anybody was doing at the time. So, yeah, this is a complete copy with the posters and the inserts and all that stuff. I'm not going to pull it out, but killer copy of that. So that's my Beatles White Album, and that is number 13. Number 12 is Black Sabbath Paranoid. This is an original UK Vertigo press of this. This was a grail record for me for a long time to get the first 4 Black Sabbath on the original Vertigo. But this is just a tremendous record. If you're looking for metal, this is the beginning of hard rock and metal. There's a lot of hard rock kind of preceding this, but this one really, you know, the Black Sabbath self-titled and this one really kind of ushered in a new era of metal and was kind of the beginnings, the seminal metal that really influenced a lot of bands. The world of rock and roll would not be the same without Black Sabbath. Just fantastic musicians. Ozzy's iconic, and this album is absolutely fantastic. It's one I would recommend to anyone who's into rock and roll at all. Black Sabbath Paranoid, number 12, fantastic. Number 11 is my favorite album of all time, and that is Led Zeppelin III. I've got a lot of copies of this. I'm only showing you a few of them. I've got probably 10 copies of this, but this is a first Japanese press. It has an absolutely beautiful label on it. I am missing the obi. It's got a pink obi originally, but that is a super clean. You could not find a cleaner copy of this, and that one sounds incredible. There's also the Brazilian pressing with the alternate cover. That's really cool. This is the first UK pressing, the Plum label. I also collect the Plum labels. And this is another Japanese pressing that does have the obi. This is not first Japanese press, but it's an early Japanese press with the obi. This is probably one of the more common Japanese pressings that you're able to find from the early days. So really great one. And the only one I really need from Zeppelin, well, one of the few that I really need is the 200 grand classic record pressing of that album, because it's my favorite album and I need it. So that's the one I'm looking for. So it would be on my want list. Breaking into the top 10, we have Nirvana, 1991. Number 10, fantastic record. This is the Palace record. This is Palace Records pressing. Very good sound quality, solid record, good for the money. This is the one you're probably going to be able to find right now, but it's a very good sounding copy. Also have the 20th anniversary deluxe edition. Yeah, 4 LP, really cool set. But that's just a fantastic album. You know, that one also kind of was one of the first grunge albums that really changed the world, and like everybody knew it. You know, that was just one of those super impactful. And if you'll look at this list, one thing that I would tell you to notice is that almost all the records are between 66 and, you know, late 70s. You know, it's that early stuff, but there was a few that stood out like beyond that were still really iconic and were kind of out of that really transformative time for music, and that was one that was just huge for that time. So that's number 10, Nirvana, Nevermind. Number 9 is Beatles Revolver, 1966. This is another iconic album, fantastic Beatles record, and the Beatles had a run of, I mean, all their records are really good, but a run of them that I really love, and this is one that's fantastic. This is the remaster, and the remasters sound really good for the money. If you're looking for Beatles records and you're having a hard time finding clean copies, there's no shame in getting these remasters because they really do sound really good. So this is one that I actually pulled from the shop because I have the MoFi set, but this is one I would probably choose if I didn't have the MoFi set. Fantastic record, 1966. Number 8 is Led Zeppelin II. This is an incredible record, another one of my favorites. Zeppelin's my favorite band. If you don't know me, you might not know that, but it is my favorite band. This is the 200 gram classic records pressing. This one sounds absolutely fantastic. That is one of my go-tos. Let's see, this one is my Japanese pressing. Great sounding Japanese press. This one is my Robert Ludwig hot mix. This is near mint. The only flaw with it is a little sticker that was removed from the cover, but other than that, it is a flawless copy. The vinyl is sweet, near mint. I found this at a yard sale for $1. And the Robert Ludwig hot mixes go way up. They're very expensive. This is the very first pressing in the U.S., and they actually recalled them because the mix was too hot It was too loud, and they recalled them, and it's the same mix, but they turned the volume down on the mix, so it was a little more tame for the public. But that's one of my favorite pieces in my collection, is that Robert Ludwig Huck mix. And this is the UK pressing with the plum labels. But Led Zeppelin II, you know, Zeppelin I had that hard-hitting record, and we'll talk about that in a minute. But Zeppelin II followed it up with just another banger, you know. Killer record with a whole lot of love, Heartbreaker, just some killer tracks on that record. And it was just one that people were like, okay, this band is going to shake the world. And that they did. Number 7 is the Beatles, Abbey Road. This is another one. I mean, it's hard for me to say that the White Album is my favorite, because this is another, they're neck and neck for my favorites, because this one, I mean, I don't know if there is a more iconic album cover than the Beatles Abbey Road, but just such a fantastic record. It's another one that every single song everybody knows. It just flows so well. It's just it's an amazing work of art. And you know, a lot of people they'll talk smack about the Beatles and say that the Beatles weren't as good as everyone makes them out to be. But really, if you sit and listen to Abbey Road, I really don't know how you could say that. Just a fantastic band, and that album really encapsulates their power together as a writing team, just to write some incredible songs. Not only were they great musicians, but they were, above that, great songwriters. Are there better musicians than the Beatles? Yeah. But songwriter-wise, they not only were great songwriters individually, but they wrote together really well, and they pulled the best out of each other. So that album really shows that to me. Number 6 is Led Zeppelin I. Fantastic record. This is the very first U.S. press with the alternate label, and this one's actually got a little bit different mix on it. So this is one that collectors really look for. This is one I looked for a very long time. It's very tough to find that label. So this is a very first U.S. pressing. I mean, and only a couple pressing plants had that label, but this is a little bit different mix. Some say Jimmy Page's guitar is a little bit louder on this mix, and the pauses in between songs are a little bit longer, but other than that, there's not much difference. But that's another really cool pressing of that one that I have. This is the 200-gram Classic Records pressing, like I was talking about with the other ones. Sonically, probably the best copy you're going to find. And then this one's a really cool kind of a novelty. This is a first Japanese pressing, and this one's tough to find. It's a gatefold, but on the back, as you can see, they have mislabeled the band members. They think that John Bonham is Robert Plant, John Paul Jones is is Robert Plant over here, and then Jimmy Page is right, but then they've got John Paul Jones as John Bonham over there. So they've got it all mixed up on that one. So it's kind of an error, but that's a cool pressing that I have of that. So Led Zeppelin I, I talked about it earlier. When that album came out, that's another really iconic, influential record for early hard rock music. It's one of my favorites. I mean, as a Zeppelin fan, it's just it's one, as a kid, when I heard it, I just could not stop listening to it. Incredible record, well-deserved spot on the most wanted list. Getting down to the top 5. Number 5, 1979, Pink Floyd The Wall. This is the Half-Speed Master CBS Master Sound pressing of this. Absolutely incredible sounding album. This is one that has been played over and over and over again. People love it. It has, you know, obviously Pink Floyd The Wall. The movie was made after it. I remember as a kid, I snuck into Blockbuster, if you guys know what that is. Some of the younger crowd might not, but Blockbuster was where I used to rent films. And I snuck in there and was able to rent Pink Floyd The Wall. Because before that, I had seen Live at Pompeii, and I thought it was going to be like that. It was not. I was very disturbed. Could not sleep that night. But anyways, Pink Floyd The Wall, fantastic album, and really, really amazing. You know, as far as the whole Pink Floyd spectrum goes, I love Gilmour, but this is just a masterpiece that Rodgers has his fingerprints all over. Just a fantastic record. Amazing stuff. And like I know I used to have a Japanese pressing that sounded really good, but I thought this one sounded a little bit better. So this is the one that I ended up hanging on to. And great record, number 5, 1979, Pink Floyd The Wall. Number 4 is Pink Floyd again with Wish You Were Here. This is maybe my favorite Pink Floyd record. It's really hard to say, really tough. But this is one album that would probably be one of my desert island records that I could listen to over and over again. Just an incredible record. Every song on this record is just mind-blowing. You know, This is the half-speed master, CBS master sound, same as the wall that I had, but they're really cool pressing. This one has the sticker on the front, and then here's another really cool pressing I have. This is a Japanese press. You can see that Japanese sticker, and this is got the dark shrink wrap on the front, so a lot of that shrink wrap was ripped off, but yeah, I had this dark shrink wrap. It's tough to find one in that navy blue shrink, but this is a really sweet copy. But Pink Floyd, Wish You Were Here, just an absolute masterpiece in my opinion. It doesn't get much better than that for me. Have a Cigar, Wish You Were Here, Shine On You Crazy Diamond. Oh my gosh, it's so good. It's too good. I can't even talk anymore about it. Number 3 is Led Zeppelin IV. This is another super iconic, as you know. I need to stop saying super iconic because they all are. This is the UK Plum label. This isn't my favorite Zeppelin album, but it is the first album that I really heard because of Stairway to Heaven. That's one of the most iconic classic rock tracks there is. It's a really great record. This is one that's probably out of Zeppelin's catalog the easiest to find. I have multiple copies of this in the shop. Pretty much anytime you come in, you'll get them. And then the new Zeppelin Masters are really good too, and those are widely available. So you should not have an excuse to not have this record. It's very easy to find. This is one as a kid when I was trying to pick up Zeppelin albums. This was probably the first one that I found at Salvation Army. But this is a really, really great album through and through. Zeppelin at that point had really developed into kind of their own sound, and where it was a freight train at that point. Just kind of earlier, they borrowed some tunes. Everybody knows that. But they really started picking up steam, writing their own stuff. And I do realize there was some controversy over the writing of Stairway to Heaven. But it is very original track, in my opinion. And this album is fantastic. The artwork, especially inside Gatefold, great stuff. Number 2 kind of surprised me, but not really. And that was the Beatles, Sgt. Pepper's. This is an unsung hero, and I guess it's not because it's number 2, but Sgt. Pepper, this is another one. I talked about The Doors, 1967. This is another one, came out in 1967, very influential to psychedelic music. Really, really amazing record, and the Beatles really stepped outside of what they were known as to make this record, and it was, the Beatles fans, they moved with them. Some of them did, some of them didn't, but this is a really cool album. The Beatles just racking up hits, racking up great albums, one after the other one. This one is no exception. Fantastic record. Number 2, Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band. The number 1, if you really stop and think about it, you will know it. You will guess it. It is the one that is one of the, I will tell you this album charted for 950 weeks. It was one of the longest, I think, if not the longest, charting record of all time. Sold 44 million records. So I'm sure you know this is Pink Floyd, Dark Side of the Moon. 1973 masterpiece. This is one, there's so much tied to this record. It's almost hard to hone it down what you would want to talk about. But it was just such a well put together record. Recorded at Abbey Road Studios. This is original master recording, and then this is my Japanese pressing of the record. And this is just fantastic. Both of those sound so good. You could sync it up with Wizard of Oz. Really cool. But I mean, the songs on there were airtight, and it kind of brought that prog to the public in such a soothing and incredible way. And everyone loved the album, and it's one that you can put on with almost anybody and they'll like it. It kind of reaches everybody. It's just one of those albums that is universal when you can create art and it applies to more than one demographic or type of person, and it can invoke an emotion upon multiple types of people. That is what makes art really great. And a lot of these albums, all these albums really did that. So Pink Floyd, Dark Side of the Moon, that's no surprise that that's number 1. You've heard it, you know it. That's, one of those, but fantastic record. I can't say anything bad about that record for sure. But thank you guys for watching this video. I'm glad you hung around this long. If you haven't subscribed to my channel, hit the subscribe button right there in the middle. Check out some of my other videos that I've done. You might like those as well. And follow us on Instagram. We have a shop in North Carolina. We're always posting when we get really cool stuff in. Thank you guys for watching this video. Hope you guys have a great day, and we'll see you next time.